In September 2025, in front of the US Embassy in Beijing, long lines have been forming for several consecutive days. Netizens said that there were around 1,000 more people in line who were not captured in the footage. A girl who was rejected from studying in the US for high school cried loudly on site.
I'm going to college. They asked me why I didn't finish high school in China before going. She's on a student visa, right? Yes. My sister is also on a student visa. I've already been rejected 4 times. 4 times!
The vlogger said that during the last attempt, she saw the visa officer's helpless expression. The officer probably wanted to approve her, but for some reason, she couldn't. I feel so terrible. My US visa was rejected. What should I do? Oh, I'm about to cry. Really. At the US consulate in Shanghai, someone was caught submitting fake documents.
Applying for a US visa. Today, the Shanghai consulate pulled out a big move. Has everyone watched this video?
They were caught with fake documents by the visa officer, and the officer called the police. According to the vlogger, here's what happened. A couple submitted fake documents at the Shanghai consulate. After the visa officer reported it, the 2 applicants were taken away by the police. They may never get a US visa again, or they could face a lifetime ban from applying. The vlogger explained that many people falsify documents. First, some people think their assets aren't enough, so they create fake property documents. Others believe their retirement savings aren't sufficient, so they make up fake retirement certificates. Some go even further, pretending to be a married couple to convince the visa officer that they have a stable life, thus improving their chances. All of this is fake, but you can't fake it for long. The truth will eventually come out. Just because the paperwork says you're married doesn't mean your relationship is stable. A vlogger mentioned that while shopping malls in Shenyang City are empty, the US consulate is packed with people. Look at this building. Look, isn't anyone noticing? But there's only one place that's packed, the US consulate. Let's take a look. The first wave hasn't even started yet, and there are already so many people. Today is the first round of interviews. An insider in China's tourism industry said that the US visa is now sustaining the industry. Right now, a US visa is supporting more than half the tourism industry. A large portion of the industry depends on US visas to survive. I've lost count of how many people told me that when they travel to Europe, Australia, or the UK, if they encounter a Chinese tour group, without exception, 99% of the people are joining the tour in order to later apply for a US visa. This phenomenon contrasts with recent reports of a decrease in the trend of studying in the US. Some observers believe that those wanting to go abroad now are mostly people who don't want to return to China. Western media reports that the once booming wave of Chinese students studying in the US has changed amid rising US-China geopolitical tensions. Chinese students in the US are facing stricter entry or security checks, and when returning to China, they are suspected of being disloyal. Studying abroad in the US was once seen as an honor, but now it is akin to being caught in the middle. On one hand, the Trump administration once threatened to revoke the visas of Chinese students. Although this was temporarily shelved, it intensified the uncertainty already surrounding Chinese students in the US. On the other hand, some Chinese graduates returning from studying abroad found that their overseas experiences have raised suspicions among Chinese employers, who are increasingly skeptical of returnees. Without parents having borne the high cost of their children's education abroad, they are beginning to question whether studying abroad is worthwhile, especially as the Chinese job market shifts its preference towards domestic graduates. According to US media, Mr. Lian, a 24-year-old man from southeast China, studied in the US for 3 years, earning a master's degree in economic statistics. He once dreamed of working on Wall Street. However, after his student visa was suddenly canceled in July 2024, he was forced to stay in China and look for a job. He submitted over 70 resumes to state-owned banks and financial institutions, but received no responses. And most of his resumes didn't even make it past the initial screening. Mr. Duan, who earned both his bachelor's and master's degrees in communications from the US universities, said that after returning to China, he sent out 400 job applications but only received 3 offers. His experience mirrors that of many other Chinese students who returned after obtaining master's degrees abroad. In recent years, China's Ministry of State Security has heavily promoted the notion that foreign spies are everywhere. Returning overseas graduates have often been viewed as easily recruitable targets by foreign spy agencies. These actions by the Chinese Communist Party have also affected some Chinese companies. On April 22nd, Gree Electronic Appliances chairwoman Dong Min-zu said, "We will never use the returnee talent. We only train our own people in domestic universities. There are spies among the returnees, and I don't know who is who." Today, in China's job market, whether in private enterprises, state-owned companies, or government departments, it's not just American-educated students who are avoided, but anyone holding a foreign degree. In August, the U.S. Department of Education also issued new guidelines to universities across the country, emphasizing the threat from the CCP, stating that no other country targets Western research, science, and technology as aggressively as China does. The number of Chinese students studying in the U.S. has indeed dropped significantly. From a peak of 373,000 in the 2019 to 2020 academic year, it plummeted to 277,000 in the 2023 to 2024 academic year, with many Chinese students opting for alternatives like Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, and Europe. Nevertheless, China expert Yue Shan believes that while the number of students going to the U.S. may have decreased, those truly determined to study there will not miss the opportunity. He said that although the CCP has been promoting anti-American rhetoric in recent years, using negative news stories, many Chinese parents are aware that China is a dangerous place, and they do not want their children to be corrupted by the Communist Party culture. The U.S. is still seen as a place where children can have a better future. Chinese students seem more inclined to stay in the U.S. On September 10th, the U.S. think tank Migration Policy Institute released a survey report based on 1,300 Chinese students, showing that while most respondents said they experienced discrimination, many gave positive feedback about the U.S. Nearly 3/4 of Chinese students said they chose to study in the U.S. because they wanted to experience life there, and about 2/3 of students said they came to the U.S. for the best education. Female students are more likely to stay in the U.S. 48% of female students said they hope to remain, while 33% plan to leave. Among male students, 40% plan to stay, while 43% plan to return. Professor Ye Yao Yuan, chair in international studies at the University of St. Thomas, stated in an interview that we should not assume every Chinese student is a spy. Some students are truly here to study, and there are many such students. Professor Xie Tian from the University of South Carolina, Aiken, remarked that these Chinese students should realize that the issues causing their exclusion stem from the CCP. He said, "The U.S. targets the CCP authorities, not the Chinese people." He suggested that Chinese students clarify their stance against the CCP, such as visiting the website that helps Chinese people renounce and quit the Communist Party. This could help signal to U.S. immigration authorities that they are not agents of the CCP. Despite the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs issuing multiple safety warnings, it hasn't stopped Chinese nationals from going to the U.S. Many are not going for studies, but for tourism, work, immigration, and other purposes. Under China's economic downturn, those who still have the money to travel abroad are likely to be the wealthy, many of whom may be preparing for immigration. The trend of China's wealthy emigrating abroad has existed for years. Dissatisfaction with the CCP's authoritarian political system has only intensified, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. As pandemic control measures relaxed, more and more Chinese elites are accelerating their immigration. According to data from the investment immigration firm Henley & Partners, in 2023, 13,800 high net worth individuals left China, a 28% increase from 2022, the highest among all countries. The firm previously estimated that by the end of 2024, 15,200 Chinese millionaires will have moved abroad, setting a new historical record. The most popular immigration destinations for China's wealthy are, in order, the US, Canada, the European Union, Singapore, Japan, and Hong Kong. As China's economy declines and more millionaires emigrate, what was once a symbol of Beijing's elite, the Vancouver Forest Villa area in Changping District, is now facing a desolate scene. Large, multi-million-dollar mansions have become vacant, with gardens overgrown with weeds. Once prized villas are now repurposed as company offices. These luxury homes are deteriorating due to a lack of maintenance and repairs. Many of the villas here are vacant. A real estate agent stated that most of the property owners have foreign green cards. The owners are mostly in their 50s, born in the 1970s, with many having emigrated abroad. While Chinese people are fleeing to developed Western countries, Russians, who have been at war for over 3 years, are heading to China.
Whoa, well done, so happy. Look at these Russians in China, our international students from Heihe City, Heilongjiang province. On the first day of the China-Russia visa-free policy, Heihe City welcomed a large number of Russians. To accommodate these Russians, we have made all communication in Heihe City barrier-free. 3 essentials for learning Russian.
On September 2nd, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that China would expand the scope of its visa-free countries. From September 15th this year to September 14th, 2026, Chinese authorities will trial a visa-free policy for Russian citizens holding regular passports. Russians traveling to China for business, tourism, family visits, or transit will be allowed to enter without a visa for up to 30 days. On September 4th, Putin stated that Russia would reciprocate with a similar visa-free policy for China. However, Russia has yet to formally announce the policy, meaning the visa exemption is still a unilateral move by the CCP. September 15th marks the first day of the trial of the visa-free policy. Many Chinese media outlets reported the scenes of Russian tourists arriving at the Heihe port in Heilongjiang, where a short 5-minute boat ride brought them to China. Tourists were seen walking back and forth, many already wearing autumn coats and pushing suitcases, visibly excited. Several tourists were also seen aggressively shopping, displaying their spoils from shopping in China. Multiple vloggers mentioned that the visa exemption is a unilateral move by China with no action from Russia. Everyone, take a look at the news regarding China's visa exemption. As of September 15th, Russia has not issued any visa-free policy for Chinese citizens holding valid passports. It is currently just China's unilateral visa exemption policy for Russian tourists, starting on September 15th. You need to understand this clearly. Don't get confused. The Russian train has already arrived. We're about to depart from Moscow. Today happens to be the 16th, so we've caught the second day of the visa exemption. It's all Russians rushing to China. They've already been backed up at the border control. Goodness, what are they here for? Shopping. Chinese products are cheaper than what they can get back home. Beautiful Russian women are now appearing in China in clusters, showing off everywhere.
Beautiful. Hello. Whoa.
A female vlogger reminded Chinese men not to spread rumors that Russian women are coming to take Chinese men.
Millennial men are in hot demand among Gen Z girls. Now that the China-Russia border is visa-free, Russian ladies are coming to China for tourism, and rumors are spreading that Russian women are here to steal Chinese men. These women are just enjoying their travels, but they are being accused of coming to steal men. I would like to ask, what exactly are they stealing? Who is stealing? Some people in certain vlogger comment sections are even saying, bring a foreign wife home to bring glory to the country. Let Chinese women rot on the ground. I would like to ask, did anyone say they want to marry you? You're embarrassing yourselves abroad. Before you privately message foreign women asking, want to hang out? How much for one night? That was already shameful enough, and now you're secretly taking photos and spreading rumors about others. You are not as tall as they are, and you don't even have the money for their travel expenses. Why are they crazily chasing after you? Do you really think foreigners are fools? Picking up any trash? Stop daydreaming over there. You are truly dishonoring your country's dignity.
The influx of Russians into China has sparked widespread discussion among Chinese netizens, with many stating, "Visa exemptions are a good thing. Let's wait for the war to end." Another said, "Across the border from Heihe is a city which was originally Chinese territory, called Hailanpao." Others also brought up another city in Russia's Far East, which was originally known as Shenyang and was Chinese territory during the Qing dynasty. On December 9, 1999, 8 years after the Soviet Union collapsed, then CCP leader Jiang Zemin and Russian President Boris Yeltsin signed a protocol on the eastern and western sections of the China-Russia border, fully acknowledged a series of unequal treaties signed between the late Qing government and Tsarist Russia, including the Treaty of Aigun and the Treaty of Beijing. This protocol unconditionally ceded over 1 million square kilometers of northeastern China, which had been occupied by Tsarist Russia, to Russia. Jiang Zemin also ceded the Tanu-Urian-Kai region, which had been illegally occupied by Tsarist Russia and later the Soviet Union, to Russia. In June 2021, China and Russia extended the 2001 Sino-Russian Treaty of Friendship for another 5 years. The joint statement from both countries stated that they had completely resolved historical border issues and that neither country had territorial claims on the other. In 2024, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te, when interviewed, said, "China's aim to annex Taiwan is not about territorial integrity. If this were the case, why not reclaim the land ceded to Russia in the Treaty of Aigun?" Japanese lawmaker with Chinese ancestry, Seki Hei, who has long criticized the CCP on issues such as Taiwan, Xinjiang, and Hong Kong, recently became the first sitting Japanese parliament member to be sanctioned by Beijing. In response to CCP accusations of being a traitor and selling out the country, Seki openly retorted, "Who is it that sold China's land to Russia the most?" In an exclusive interview published on Taiwan Central News Agency on September 12th, Seki Hei responded to accusations of treason by sarcastically criticizing the CCP. When did the most people die in mainland China? It wasn't during wartime. It was in the 1960s and 70s. And when you say China's territory was sold to the Soviet Union, sold to foreigners, who sold it the most? The Central News Agency stated that this was Seki Hei's sharpest retort to the CCP, which labeled him a traitor and imposed sanctions on him. A vlogger had already warned Chinese people that even if Russia granted Chinese nationals visa exemptions, they should be cautious about traveling to Russia for one specific reason.
俄罗斯没有给我个面签，我没接到通知。
Russia currently has an electronic visa for long-term, multiple-entry visits, but you need to apply for a business visa. There's been a lot of talk online about Russia's visa exemption, but Russia hasn't granted any such exemption. Also, if you've recently obtained visas from countries like the UK, the US, or other Five Eyes countries, it's best to avoid Russia until after your visa is issued. Another vlogger further clarified the reason.
去俄罗斯旅游的，你一定要明白了。
If you're traveling to Russia, you need to understand that if your passport has a Russian entry record, or if you've been to Russia since 2022, when applying for visas from developed countries like those in Europe or the US, your visa will likely be denied. So, if you plan to travel to developed countries in Europe, don't travel to Russia now, or don't have any entry records from Russia. Commentator She Ke stated that no matter how much the CCP promotes nationalism and supports Russia, the Chinese people are being honest with their bodies. They know that Russia is unwelcome internationally, and China is not a place where people want to stay. Whether for studying abroad or scouting out travel routes first, whenever an opportunity arises, they won't stay. Unless China has democracy, freedom, and a normal social environment, they won't return.